In this video, let us see about dental calculus and a few basic points on dental calculus which will help you in answering your short notes and essay. So in this particular video, the following subheadings will be dealt with: definition, difference between supragingival and subgingival calculus, composition of calculus, formation of dental calculus, attachment to the tooth surface. Theories of mineralization alone we'll see in the next video, because since theories of mineralization is often asked short note question, I want to give some more emphasis to that. So that alone we'll see in the next video separately. And also about how calculus causes periodontal disease will be dealt in the next video. So for definition, calculus consists of mineralized bacterial plaque that forms on the surfaces of natural teeth and prosthesis. So this process is also whatever forms on the denture the patient wears, FPD, those also forms the calculus. So remember the definition: calculus consists of mineralized bacterial plaque that forms on the surface of natural teeth and prosthesis. So the classification of calculus is depending on the location: supragingival calculus and subgingival calculus. Supragingival calculus depends on the site. So it's coronal to the gingival margin, this yellow color part. It is coronal to the gingival margin. Since it is coronal, it is visible to the naked eye. It is white or whitish yellow in color, and the color is often influenced by tobacco use or food pigments. It is hard with clay-like consistency. It is easily detachable but recur often. So the difference between the subgingival calculus and supragingival calculus will be as follows. Depending on the location, subgingival calculus is below the crest of the marginal gingiva. It is not visible to your naked eye. And tactile perception, that is, with the help of explorer, you could perceive that you have calculus there, but it is not visible to your naked eye. It is hard and dense in consistency. It is firmly attached and hard to remove. The color will be dark brown or greenish black. It is influenced by the blood products because plasma and GCF form the subgingival calculus. So the color is influenced by that. So again, I'll repeat for supra and subgingival calculus side by side. Supragingival calculus is coronal to the gingival margin, whereas subgingival calculus is below the crest of marginal ridge or marginal gingiva. It is not visible, subgingival calculus, whereas supragingival calculus is visible. The color of supragingival calculus is white or whitish yellow, whereas subgingival calculus, the color is dark brown or greenish black. The hard with clay-like consistency is seen in supragingival, whereas here it is hard and dense. Supragingival calculus is easily detachable, whereas it is firmly attached, subgingival. So if you repeat with me now, you will be able to answer in your exam also. Hope you understood both the difference. The composition of dental calculus. Regarding composition, for any enamel dent in anything, the composition will be like inorganic and the organic content. Here for calculus, let us see the inorganic content first. First we'll concentrate on the supragingival calculus content, then I'll compare it with subgingival. So the inorganic content, 70 to 90% will be calcium and phosphate crystals. Okay, so calcium phosphate will composed of 76%, 3% of calcium carbonate and traces of magnesium phosphate. Remaining 30 to 10% will be your organic content. So the 70 to 90% will be your inorganic content, out of which 76% will be calcium phosphate, 3% will be calcium carbonate and traces of magnesium phosphate. It is often present in a crystalline form. It is not in a powdered form, it is a crystalline form. So what are the types of crystalline forms present? 58%, the majority will be hydroxyapatite, 21% will be magnesium whitlockite, it is a type of crystal, and 12% will be octacalcium phosphate, 9% will be brushite. You have to by heart it. Okay, 4 types of crystalline form, you remember it: hydroxyapatite, magnesium whitlockite, octacalcium phosphate and brushite. So these are the 4 types of crystalline form. Hydroxyapatite, you all know, it is the bulk of your enamel and dentin. So this hydroxyapatite again is the bulk of supragingival calculus along with octacalcium phosphate, another calcium phosphate. Okay, so these two will be your bulk. And the remaining two, magnesium whitlockite is seen in the posterior region, whereas brushite is seen in mandibular anterior region. Remember, while brushing, you leave off your, just a mnemonic, you leave off your mandibular anterior region, lingual side especially. So the brushite crystals, a mnemonic, okay, brushite will be in your mandibular anterior region, whereas magnesium whitlockite will be in your posterior region. Inorganic content, as I said, two-third will be your crystalline form, and we saw the crystalline form, what are they. So we'll see about the organic content also. Organic content will be mix of protein and polysaccharide and desquamated epithelial cells along with leukocytes and microorganism. After which about 10%, 1 to 10% will be your carbohydrates and 0.2% of lipids. So the majority will be your protein and polysaccharides, along with which you have desquamated epithelial cells, leukocytes and microorganism. This protein and polysaccharides mostly come from your salivary glycoproteins for supragingival calculus. Whereas when you go to subgingival calculus, it is similar to supragingival calculus, only few differences. The proteins are derived from plasma here, not saliva. The inorganic composition is same as same percentage of hydroxyapatite is present, whereas magnesium whitlockite is higher here. Brushite and octacalcium phosphate will be lower here. Calcium to phosphate ratio is higher and sodium is higher when we go more deeper into the pocket. All this is because of the presence of salts being obtained from plasma, not saliva. So the changes are here. Regarding the crystals, we'll see again hydroxyapatite is same in subgingival calculus, and octacalcium phosphate and hydroxyapatite will form the bulk of your supragingival calculus. Magnesium whitlockite is more in subgingival. Octacalcium phosphate and brushite will be lesser in your subgingival calculus. You can go through the video again if you want any review or remember again. The only way to remember things more often is to read again and again, to recollect again and again. So only through repetition you could by heart certain things and you could remember till your exam. These things will be helpful even after your exam for your NEET MDS preparation, etc. So the more you watch, the more you repeat, the more you will remember. The next subheading, attachment to tooth surface. There are 4 modes of attachment to tooth surface. Attachment to organic pellicle on cementum, or attachment to enamel. Okay, the cementum will be at CEJ will be mostly near the margin of gingiva, right? So either the calculus will form by attachment to organic pellicle or cementum or by attachment to enamel. And it will also get attached to the surface irregularities if there is a decay or if there is any surface irregularities like attrition or abrasion. The mechanical interlocking will be happening there, which will lead to calculus attachment there. The 4th point is close adaptation to depressions of unaltered cementum surface. So that depressions in the unaltered cementum surface, the calculus will try to attach to those surfaces. So this is how the calculus gets attached to your tooth surface. There are 4 modes: by organic pellicle on cementum, attachment to enamel, by mechanical interlocking to surface irregularities, and by close adaptation to depressions of unaltered cementum surface. So formation, how does cementum form? So how does calculus form? Calculus is mineralized dental plaque. As we already saw, dental plaque formation will be dealt in another video. It is a separate topic. Here plaque is already there. The mineralization of dental plaque will lead to calculus. Soft plaque is hardened by precipitation of mineral salts. From the 1st to the 14th day, if dental plaque is not being disturbed, then you have calculus formation, mineralization starts. Usually we remove a plaque and other material by everything by brushing. So if plaque is not disturbed, then it leads to mineralization or precipitation of mineral salts, which leads to calculus formation. Then the calculus is about 50% mineralized. That is, the plaque is about 50% mineralized in 2 days. 60 to 90% of mineralization happens in 12 days. Source of these mineral deposition is usually from saliva in supragingival calculus and from GCF in subgingival calculus. Rate of calculus formation differs for each individual. Depending on that, individuals have been classified as heavy calculus formers, moderate calculus formers, slight calculus formers, or non-calculus formers. For certain people, plaque never undergoes mineralization, so it depends on individuals also. Time taken for maximum calculus accumulation is about 10 weeks to 6 months. That is, the maximum calculus, that is, the maximum plaque will be mineralized in within 6 months, after which there is a decline in calculus formation. It is known as reversal phenomenon. So beyond 6 months, if the plaque is undisturbed, the maximum calculus will be formed. These studies were made on few laborers. Sri Lankan tea laborer study is a very famous one, where they studied, like, without any intervention, how without any oral hygiene maintenance, how calculus forms. And they also had a control group where they studied some Norwegian academicians, where they had oral health interventions. So depending on that, they have concluded these results. So in the next video, we will see about theories of mineralization of calculus. It is also an important short note. See you soon. Hope you understood. If you have any doubts, please ask in the comment section. Thank you.